Good morning, comic book fans. Welcome back to Comics in 5 Minutes. I'm Rev Host Shorty, and today we're going to look at the Night People, or actually just Night People. I'm not going to lie, I was going to this comic book with fairly high expectations based on one thing and one thing alone, which is that name right there, Chris Condon. Basically, this is the guy who wrote the That Texas Blood, which I absolutely adore. All 3 volumes are spectacular and well worth your time. And then the spin-off series, the Enfield Gang Massacre, which is, if anything, slightly better for me. I really liked everything that happened in it. The fact that he's writing this and it's an adaptation of a book was like, yeah, cool, because his original comic book was an adaptation from a movie that never quite made it off the ground. So I was like, yeah, this got so much promise. And then you take a look at this cover. I mean, come on, that is a genuine work of art from J.H. Williams III there. All that being said, I almost bounced right off this one. I'm not going to lie. It was a struggle when I first opened it. Not because of the artwork. The artwork is actually really good. It's got a very nice Derek Robertson kind of feel to it, especially when it comes to characterizations. And he is one artist that I will always pay attention to. He has this tendency to drift near to photorealism without ever letting it get in the way of stylistic choices. And we get a similar kind of thing here. More on like the choices made by the artist later on, because we do have to talk about the fact that it was a struggle to begin with. Part of this comes down to the fact that it is a southern fried, not neo-noir, just southern fried noir crime story, and the characters all speak in that kind of vernacular. And I am aware of it, it's not a lived experience for me, and it's written as such. Not in a way that we're leaning really heavy into accents here, there's no Howard Chaykinism going on here, this is more down to like rhythm of speech, cadence, sentence structure, and because it wasn't something that I'm really that familiar with, like I've seen it at a distance, it didn't read well for me, it didn't sit nicely in my head. But then I was thinking, why am I just reading it in my head? The advice I give a lot of people when it comes to engaging with comic books, especially the written word in the page, is to read it out loud. Ram V's work is elevated even more by doing so. So I've tried it with Condon's and it really does work. It genuinely makes a difference. If you are aware of the accents, you probably have a little bit of it in your head right now. It will make a difference if you do that, because the cadence, the rise and fall, does really add more sense to what people are saying. You get a better understanding of intention of what is being communicated. The other thing that makes it quite difficult is that there's a lot going on in this story. There's a multi-point narrative involving a lot of people, and some stuff where it is pushing the boundaries of whether or not we believe what we see or not. And the main arc of it is the 2 female characters who have been in jail, appear to be lovers from what I can gather, and they are brides of Christ, although Christ is a woman, and Christ has told them to kill all men. As such, they've been engaged in a multi-state murder spree, and most of the stuff that seems to happen is just other people crossing their paths. Now, from what I can gather reading the back matter on this one, there is other narratives going to be used through this, but because of how it's presented with a whole bunch of characters who you don't really have as much time with, you're not 100% sure why they are part of this story other than just maybe a coincidental crossing of the paths, the amount of information gets dumped on you, and that's I don't want to think it is a dump, it isn't, but the amount of information that's presented to you, shall we say, it can be a lot. And it did push, I did find myself pushing back against it a little bit. But when I got to the end and I was reading it more in the styling it was supposed to be read, I found myself going along for the ride a little bit more and realising that in the same way that you can make stylistic, artistic choices, which means you're moving away from trying to recreate photorealism and making choices just to add to story, the same thing is true of this writing. It is, I think, purposely busy. There are crash cuts between scenes. It is supposed to discombobulate you ever so slightly, because as I was saying about the idea that the art is pushing the boundaries of what we can believe we see, it is a horrific comic book in places, but the actual real horror we're seeing, the brutality played out on people, comes across as, like, yeah, thrilling occasionally, but also you see the after effects in it is an almost banality of evil. The weird, creepy stuff that puts you on the edge of your seat and makes you question what you're seeing is far more subtle. It is little shifts in lighting and teeth that don't look quite right, and lips that smile in an unusual way. All this is a stylistic choice so it isn't 100% realistic, and the writing is the same, and it all comes together in a way that does exactly what it's supposed to do. And I've said before in these reviews that intentionality does matter. If you're supposed to be messed up from reading this, it does a fantastic job. The reason I started this review by saying I bounced off it a little bit is I think other people might do the same. They might not, they might just really engage with it. But if you're one of those people who picked it up and was like, oh, this is a bit weird, a bit odd, I'm not sure what the heck's going on here, stick with it. because I am going to stick with it. I'm going to read issue 2. I'm going to find out what's going on here. The mystery has intrigued me, and I want to know how this is all going to pay off. I want to know how these characters are going to interact with each other, and I want the histories of all of them to put it all together into what I hope will be an amazing story. That's it for me for now, though. I keep saying this, I've got lots of reviews to do this week. I might even do something by Marvel Comics. Until I see you again, though, look after each other, everyone. Stay safe. Bye.